There were some good years for a while. She got a job selling books, then went on for a graduate degree. Actually, she tried for 4 different graduate degrees, but kept quitting because they weren't what she wanted to do. I paid for the ones she couldn't get a scholarship or student loans for and just generally supported her and her decisions. We got a dog, and some cats. I kept working at that same construction job, for a boss I hated but it paid the bills. Got married in 2010 when we were 23. Kids, don't get married young, you don't know what a good relationship is yet. I want to get across here that it was exactly what I thought the good life was. I'd get up early, give her a kiss and head into work, where I'd occasionally get reprimanded for not reading my boss's mind. I'd do drafting and job takeoffs, or going to a job site and wear myself out doing whatever work they needed, since it was a small business and everyone wore a lot of hats. Then I'd come home, let the dog out and listen to Elle talk about her day. If I complained about my day, I wasn't being manly enough and was just adding to her stress, so I'd just start making dinner or mow the lawn, whatever. Rinse and repeat. I thought this was completely normal and maybe even better than average. The wheels really started to come off, though I didn't know it for a while, when Elle got a new job with a local energy company doing mapping. She was finally making more than minimum wage, and was only there for a few months before her boss's boss took notice of her. I don't think it was 4 months before suddenly she's getting a job as a process assistant in a large nearby city, which was a 2-hour drive for her. I'm not sure of the details, but within those same few months she started an emotional and eventual physical affair with her new boss. Still don't know what to think of this, since the guy was 30 years older than her, was recently separated from his wife and was literally living in his mom's basement. I noticed she was withdrawing more than usual from the relationship, but figured it was the stress from a big corporate job and the drive. I tried putting in more effort, surprising her with gifts and stuff, but nothing really landed. Again, I just figured she'd get used to the work and things would go back to normal. In January 2013, we moved to Cleveland to be closer to her work. I found a new and much better job, we got a really nice place for less than market price, and everything was shiny again. Sure, she had to work really late quite often, but that's corporate. She'd gotten a pay raise for her excellent work. Elle was making new work friends and was finally coming out of her shell a bit. I also started going out with work friends a lot and quickly started staying out very late and coming home drunk as a skunk, which led to more than a few fights between us. Things deteriorated. And again we just settled into a new equilibrium where we talked less to each other, and when we did talk, it would be the most milquetoast of topics. In December 2014, we went down to see her parents in Texas, and had a great trip. It really seemed to rekindle some of those feelings we'd been missing, and it really made me realize that things were more messed up in our relationship than I thought. When we got back, I had a real moment with Elle where I told her that I really had a great time and want to keep being as invested in each other as we were on the trip. I felt like I had a kind of epiphany where I knew we could change our relationship for the better, and I was inviting her to help me with it. She screamed. Straight up looked at me with panicked eyes, stuttered, screamed, and ran away down to the basement. I followed trying to figure out just what I had said that would have led to that reaction, which led to her accusing me of cornering her in the basement. I backed off and she, through tears, tells me that she doesn't deserve love. I'm trying to ask her what this is about, get nothing from her, and we finally just go into separate rooms to calm down. The next day, I tried to bring it up and she told me in no uncertain terms that none of that happened, and if I bring it up again, she's leaving. Straight up denied that she freaked out, that we had even seen each other the day before. I, obviously, got really suspicious that something was up after that point, but I didn't really think it was cheating. More just that she was being insecure. She'd always been very insecure in general, just never to a level that made her freak out like that. After that episode, one decided that my teenage self was correct, that having a roommate who was occasionally funny and sometimes slept with me was about as good a relationship as I would ever get. I had a prejudice against divorce after seeing how my mom's life had turned out afterward, so I decided I'd just make this work however I could. The staying out, drinking, and random outbursts kept going on her end, and I decided to just never bring up my feelings unless she asked directly. Meanwhile, I decided to work on myself first, to be a better, more interesting partner. I started building up my home gym, working out, got into backpacking and woodworking, things that I always kind of liked, but never had time for. Elle had complained that I had no hobbies, and wasn't interesting enough for her around this time, so I took her at her word that this would help more than actually talking about our issues. This is one of the few good things that came out of the relationship, as I'm still pretty physically fit and look much better than ever before in my life. Plus my woodworking and turning have turned into a lot of useful life skills. Day was in April of 2015. She came home from a night out with friends, insanely drunk. I'm still not sure how she made it home. She threw up multiple times while I held her hair, then passed out on the floor by the toilet. She was so drunk she would breathe in these odd gasps, and I thought she was just going to stop breathing at one point. I thought about calling an ambulance, but just decided to wait it out a bit. She had her phone beside her on the floor and it kept getting texts, which I ignored for a while. Finally thought it was probably someone checking to see if she got home okay, so I decided to open it with her thumbprint and respond.
To be continued in Part 3.